Welcome to the news episode of Squawk 7000. On this week's podcast, the start of Aer Lingus Regional service with Emerald Airlines is brought forward to March next year. AFTA opens a new maintenance hangar in Waterford, and Ryanair announces a new route from Ireland West.
Emerald Airlines and Aer Lingus have announced details of the commencement of Aer Lingus Regional flights. The flights operated under a franchise agreement by Emerald Airlines will commence on the 17th of March as Aer Lingus Regional. The announcement will result in Emerald Airlines flying over 340 flights per week across 11 routes, with further route announcements to be made in the coming weeks. High-frequency routes including Dublin-Edinburgh and Dublin-Glasgow will be served up to 4 times daily. The announcement sees the re-establishment of services to regional points across the UK, including Newquay, Cornwall, Exeter and the Isle of Man. Emerald Airlines will be the only airline offering these services from Ireland. Emerald has also established an airline company in Northern Ireland called Emerald Airlines Uk and has applied to the UK CAA for an AOC and operating licence. This is required for the Belfast base so the flights can continue to operate to UK cities. Emerald currently has 2 ATR 72-600s. More are expected to come online as services expand. Recruitment is ongoing at the company, with more information on positions available on the Emerald Airlines careers page.
The Central Statistics Office has said that 3.6 million passengers passed through the 5 main Irish airports in the third quarter of 2021, an increase of 2.1 million passengers compared with the same period in 2020, but down by 69.2% compared with quarter 2 2019. In the first 9 months of the year, almost 4.6 million passengers travelled through the main Irish airports, a drop of 2.9 million passengers and a fall of 24.9 million compared with the same period in 2019. Dublin Airport accounted for 89.5% of all passengers handled in the third quarter of 2021. The 5 main airports handled over 32,600 flights. Dublin accounted for 87.6% of all flights, that's 32,647, while Cork handled 4.7% of all flights, that's 1,533. Amsterdam Schiphol, London Heathrow and Malaga were the most popular routes for passengers travelling through Dublin Airport in the third quarter of 2021. The top route for Cork Airport was London Heathrow. The top route for Shannon Airport was London Stansted, while London Luton was the top route for both Kerry and Knock airports. Ireland's main airports handled 39,272 tonnes of freight in the third quarter of 2021, the vast majority, 92% of which, was international freight.
This week, Ryanair opened its newly expanded maintenance facility at Seville Airport, creating 250 high-skilled jobs, including licensed engineers, mechanics and support staff, and will bring Ryanair's local headcount to 500 by 2023. The Seville hangar will maintain a large portion of Ryanair's fleet of aircraft, which will grow to 600 aircraft by 2026. With over 2,500 engineers across Europe, Ryanair Line Maintenance Engineering is responsible for all aircraft maintenance activities for the Ryanair group of airlines. Ryanair has carried over 22 million passengers to and from Seville since its operations began in 2003 and currently has 4 aircraft based there.
An estimated 850,000 people are due to travel through Dublin Airport this Christmas compared to almost 1.5 million people who passed through the airport during the comparable period of 2019, down by 42%. However, Dublin Airport will see an increase of 615,000 passengers compared to last year when 235,000 passengers used the airport. From Friday the 17th of December to Tuesday the 4th of January 2022, there's expected to be an average of 45,000 departing and arriving passengers each day, which compares to an average of 12,000 passengers per day over the Christmas season last year and 77,000 per day during the same period in 2019. The busiest day during the Christmas season is expected to be today, Sunday the 19th of December, followed closely by Thursday the 23rd of December. New travel restrictions recently introduced by the Irish government for arrivals into Ireland have made passenger forecasting more difficult than a typical pre-COVID-19 Christmas, so final passenger numbers may vary if some passengers decide not to travel. Flight operations will cease on Christmas Eve. The last flight to depart is an Air Moldova flight to Kineshau at 11:10 p.m. The final arrival is an Aer Lingus flight from Tenerife, which is due to arrive at 11:35. The airport will reopen on St. Stephen's Day when a TAP Air Portugal flight from Lisbon arrives at 3:05 in the morning.
Meanwhile, Cork Airport plans to welcome an estimated 60,000 passengers this Christmas through the airport. This is down 40% compared to December 2019. This is down 40% compared to December 2019 when 119,000 passengers passed through the airport. Just 8,787 passengers flew in and out of Cork Airport throughout the entire month of December last year.
And we'll be back with more after this short break. Atlantic Flight Training Academy officially opened its new aircraft maintenance hangar this week at its second training base located at Waterford Airport. AFTA has trained 2,300 graduates since 1995 who are employed with airlines around the world. The new maintenance hangar will service AFTA's aircraft training fleet, including Diamond DA-42s, Piper PA-34 Senecas and Cessna 172s. AFTA operates 24 aircraft, 5 flight simulators and employs 55 people. The addition of the enhanced maintenance facility will add extra high-skill jobs for the Waterford region. Well, joining us to tell us more about this is Philip Smythe, AFTA Safety Manager.
It's been a slow evolving process of development for us. We commenced operations down there with the a satellite base in 2017, 2018, just with a couple of aircraft. And we were very encouraged by the reception we received, both from the airport management, operation personnel, and particularly ATC as well too, very welcoming. So that was a good start for us. And we said, well, we don't want to step on toes here. We'll just see how the training evolves over there over a period of time. And, just dipping a toe in the water more than anything else. And we found that it was working extremely well. So we had extended the operation. In a sense, we really had to kind of literally think outside the box because the main runway Cork was closed for about 10 weeks. So we had to shift a large part of the operations elsewhere, and Waterford very accommodating. And we said, this is fantastic. But we realized because we had built up the business down there, the flight training activity, that we needed a corresponding increase in the engineering side as well too. That's where we were. So we had the official opening of the new maintenance facility last Friday.
Give us a quick idea of the fleet size, because it's quite substantial at this stage.
Yes, it was, without making a short story long, if you like, it started in 1985 with just 2 aircraft. And over the years, it's evolved to where we are now with almost 24 aircraft, 3 simulators, including a Boeing 737 simulator for the MCC training. And also we have an aircraft dedicated for the UPRT phase of training as well, to the upset prevention recovery training as well. So that's where we are in terms of aircraft resources. The instructor panel is quite strong. We have almost 50 instructors, a combination of full-time and part-time instructors. So we're very well resourced at this stage and well placed to look after the demands for pilot training. So we're very fortunate, despite the pandemic. Certainly we had a significant downturn at the outset, but that has begun to recover as people realise that we will beat this with the vaccine rollout and all the other measures taken, and people will begin to realise that aviation and pilot career isn't all about today and next year. It's about 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road.
Now, one of the other topics that's very much of interest to people at the moment is the environment and aviation and flying. And this has been very much on your organisation's agenda.
Yes, as we expand the fleet, when we upgrade the fleets, we tend to go for brand new aircraft. And in the first instance, for the reliables, the Cessna fleets, etc., obviously the development of their engines, they're more fuel efficient now and they're more green than they were previously. In relation to the multi-engine aircraft, the heavy aircraft, traditionally the older style aircraft like PA-34 Senecas and aircraft of that generation, on the one hand, they are fantastic training aircraft, complex systems to operate, brilliant for trainees to expand their mental capacities, etc. The downside is that they can be fairly heavy on fuel. So it's obviously it's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, you've got the higher operating costs, but also more importantly, you've got the high carbon usage as well too. So what we did then was we started to replace the fleet with a multi-engine fleet with the DA-42, the Diamond Twin Star. I suppose it's a bit of a worn cliche, but it is a game changer in the light aircraft environment, and certainly for pilot training as well too. Its fuel burn is about 40% of what the traditional aircraft would normally operate at. So it's doing its own job in the sense that on the one hand, it's providing savings for us, which is obviously very important. But the bigger picture is it's also a lot greener when it comes to its operation as well too. So aviation obviously is under the spotlight in terms of its carbon footprint, and major carriers, Ryanair, etc., as they replace their fleet, new aircraft, game-changing aircraft, and we're contributing our part as well too with the aircraft that we're replacing the current fleet with.
One of the things people who are around aviation will know that it goes in cycles and there are periods of up and periods of down. What's the forecast for pilot training and recruitment now for the next couple of years?
It's very strong. You're totally correct. It is very cyclical and always has been. If you go back, say, to the 70s, we had oil embargoes, and then in the 80s and 90s, there were financial issues globally and terrorist activity and, a variety of different factors that worked against it. But in every instance where there has been a downturn, there's always been a significant turn back up on the other side of the slope as well, too. And this is no exception. So we're fully confident that the market is picking up. We've seen that every time there was an easing of restrictions, say in Europe and the UK as well too, the demand for travel increased substantially. People wanted to get on flights. Nothing's changed. The demand is there the whole time. So nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is the timeline in terms of how quickly it recovers. I know that the major players who run these global surveys, Boeing and Airbus, have predicted pilot demand for extra pilots over the next 20 years is something 180,000 pilots required. So it is massive. Now, that number hasn't changed. The only thing that has changed is the timeline. So instead of taking maybe 20 years to get to that level, it might take 22 or something like that. But on a more local basis, we're partnered with several airlines, including international carriers, for different training programs. And one of those is a mentored program with Ryanair. And people who are in the business, and I'm sure yourself will know, that they are looking for 2,000 pilots in the next 2 years. So in the same way, I suppose in that sense, Ryanair are very much to the forefront of it, because every time there is some sort of a downturn, they seize opportunities and see exactly where they can turn this to advantage. And we've seen that in particular with their order for new Boeing aircraft, where other carriers may have cancelled orders over the last 12 to 18 months. Not alone have they not cancelled orders, they've increased the order as well too. So the demand is there, and because again, they're very forward looking, not what's happening this year and next year, 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And that's the message we want to get across to the pilots of the future as well too. Don't look at this in the short term. This is what will it give you as a career over the long term as well too.
Captain Phil Smythe, thank you for joining us on Squawk 7000.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And finally this week, Ireland West Airport has welcomed the announcement by Ryanair of a new year-round service to Birmingham to commence in March 2022. This is the third new route to be announced by Ryanair from the airport in 2021, following the commencement of new services to Edinburgh and Manchester in September. In addition, their services to Malaga and Milan will operate throughout the winter.
Thanks, Mark. You'll find these stories and more on flyinginireland.com. And a reminder that you can listen to our long final editions. This week we speak with Galway Flying Club, who are celebrating their 75th anniversary this year. You'll find that wherever you get your podcasts and on our site, squawk7000.ie. We'll be back with some more episodes over the Christmas break and back with the news in the new year. Thanks for listening and have a happy Christmas.